Welcome back, partners of Commercial Fishermen Community and all the supporters of. So happy to have you here. I hope you're doing well out there, and I hope your health is doing great, because that is the whole subject today is health insurance. What is health insurance? Why do we need it? Why don't some people need it? What are some advantages and what to look out for? Today, we're speaking with our health insurance agent, Andy Hester, and he is so transparent and open, and probably more transparent than most health insurance agents, I would say, because he comes from a place of kind of just like being your friend and wanting to find the right plan for you. You're not just another number. He's literally looking out. And in this episode, you're going to hear all about that. We get really frank about health insurance. I talk about my past, how when I did not have health insurance, why Chris and I didn't want to have it, and why we chose to actually do it. And he tells us all about different plans, what kind of coverage, what to look out for, and what to say to make sure that we get coverage whenever we go in for our appointments. So this is a super informative episode. If you ever have any questions about health insurance, this is it. It's already, this episode's coming out in March, so we have plenty of time until open enrollment, which starts in November. But this is going to be a great way to just get an idea of maybe what to look out for. Maybe there's some things you want to shift within your own plans, and maybe there's something you want to ask your own health insurance agent. This is what this episode is for. So cheers to your health. Let's do this. I'm Megan Waltrip, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community created for partners to connect worldwide, find helpful resources, and share stories to feel less alone in this incredibly unique and adventurous way of life. The POCF podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, supporters, or those curious to know more about the commercial fishing community to join conversations as we learn from each other, laugh, sometimes cry, and relate with those who are the faces behind each catch. What do you say? Let's dive in. Okay, Andy, so happy to have you out here so we could pick your brain. But first, I want to know more about you. I want to know where you're from and how did you get involved in the insurance game, health insurance game?
Yeah. Sure. So I was born and raised in Wilson, North Carolina, which is about 2 hours from here, from Wilmington, that is. And I went to college here at UNCW. And all of my professors were saying, don't be shy to move away, because a lot of your jobs are going to want you to move away. So for lack of anything better to do, I sold cars for about 6 months because I didn't want to move away from the beach. And my girlfriend at the time, now wife, she was working for this insurance agency. And the more and more I would talk with the owner, when I would call in and talk with her, he would say, man, you really just need to come over here and do insurance with us. It was better than sitting on the car lot with car sales. So, and it turned into a really good job. This agency is founded on doing group health insurance for companies. And so that's what I've done for many, many years now, 18 years, is go to companies and corporations and help their HR department and their owners set up their benefits package. But over the last 7 or 8 years, I will say a lot of our focus has gone towards helping individuals that do not get the opportunity to get that kind of health insurance through their company. We do a lot of those individual policies and help those kind of folks out. But yeah, I've been at this job for quite a while, about 18 years now. So.
That's amazing. And I was Googling, what are one of the misconceptions about health insurance agents? And one of them was that people feel that they put, the dollar for the person and they're not really searching for the plan. And I can vouch for Andy that he definitely was very invested and helped us get us set up this year. So I really appreciate that. Because,
absolutely. Yeah.
And
thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And please, can you tell everybody what your health insurance company's name is?
Sure. Our name is Insurance Solutions. That's the DBA. Insurance Solutions of Wilmington is the actual business name.
Got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And
sure.
Okay, so the health insurance, let's get down to it.
Yep.
What exactly, because it can be very confusing, health insurance, to be honest. And
what plans to get and all that stuff. And so I want to know what are the basics? Like what is health insurance? Like, how does it work?
Well, so health insurance as a basic idea is a means of financial protection. That's probably the best way to put it, because if you're looking at a health insurance plan where you have, let's say, a deductible of $7,000, a max out of pocket of $8,000, let's just say God forbid, you ring up $1 million bill in the hospital. Instead of you paying out $1 million, you're paying out the $8,000 of max out of pocket. So you have protected your financial future by having that policy that you've paid for month after month. And it's not a fun thing to pay for, but it's one of those necessary evils to make sure that the unknown happens. It's not going to ruin you. I think that's probably the best way that I can encapsulate health insurance as a whole. There's a whole lot more to it, but that's probably the overall view.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I know, commercial fishing, there's so many different angles that people can get hurt, and
Absolutely,
they need to be protected in that way. And money can always be, it's always something on the forefront for us because our lives are determined by the price of seafood every year. And I'm wondering if something happened, God forbid, and you had a health insurance plan and there was a $8,000 deductible, are you able to pay that $8,000 off in parts, like within segments, or do you have to pay it all off at once? And what happens if you can't pay that? What if you're just having a bad year and you just can't pay your deductible? What happens?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I always kind of joke around with people when they ask that. They're like, man, that's a high deductible. And I always kind of mess around and say, well, it's better than $1 million bill. But what if I can't pay that? Well, they're not going to jail you for not being able to fork out the $7,000 or $8,000 deductible. What you're able to do is you will contact the hospital wherever this large bill has come from, or surgeon or doctor's office, and work out. They usually have payment plans where you can work out to pay a monthly cost until you've paid off that amount.
Got it.
And I do see people doing that quite a bit. Yes.
Okay, that's good to know that there's options for sure.
Yeah.
And so within your business, what are the general ranges of health insurance plans that you see? Let's start with like an individual, a couple, and then a family. Like, what's generally the cost that they would pay per month?
Oh, so now that's one that I will have a difficult time ballparking it. And I'll tell you why. I'll get kind of into the nuts and bolts of this, but everyone has a different situation. So a lot of these plans that we do go through the marketplace. And the marketplace is what everybody calls, it's an unfortunate name, but they call it Obamacare, right? Well, Obamacare is a means of just obtaining a subsidy to go towards the cost of your health insurance plan that the government has provided. Well, everybody's situation is different. So let's take a young person that's making $40,000 a year. Their income is decent for a young person. They're not going to get as much subsidy as a 50-year-old who's making $20,000 a year. So their rates are going to be so much different between those two scenarios. Now, let's take a family of four and they're living off of $70,000 a year. They're going to get quite a large subsidy because they have a lot of mouths to feed. They're living off of $70,000 a year. Their rates are going to be rather inexpensive due to that fact. Before the marketplace became a thing, health insurance was based off of a couple of different factors. It was based off your age, your gender, your health risk. No longer are those factors. It's more your age and your income. So to give a ballpark answer on that would be kind of tough, but I think your listeners will understand, when you meet with an insurance broker, your particular situation is going to determine the quotes.
So it only determines, like you said, the age and the income. It's not depending on what state you're in. It doesn't differ.
The state does. Yeah, the state does have and also I will say county by county, the rates are different because the subsidies are higher or lower depending on the county you live in. And that's based on the poverty level of the county.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know that's probably something you hadn't considered, but it really is based off the poverty level of that county that you live in.
Do you need to find a health insurance agent in the town you live in, or can someone from Alaska call you up and say, I like this guy, he sounds nice and he seems straightforward and I want him to deal with my health insurance? Would you be able to help with somebody like in out of state?
I wouldn't be able to help with someone from Alaska. I will say our agency, we're licensed in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. Oh, in Florida. It just depends, but I would say this, and this probably would knock me out of a couple of other people's quotes, but typically you want to find a broker in your state because they're going to be the most familiar with the county by county layouts, the networks for every carrier that's in your, like for example, Blue Cross Blue Shield, they have 3 different networks in this area. They have multiple networks across the state. The broker needs to be able to understand that and be able to send you to the right network so you're not going to doctors that are going to leave you with a large bill.
Got it.
You know, so it is very helpful to try to find one in your state.
Okay.
Yep.
And going back to health insurance plans, which you may or may not be able to answer, is there a company that you feel exceeds, like they do an above and beyond job of taking care of their people rather than maybe another company? And if there is one that you recommend?
Being a health insurance broker allows me to not like health insurance companies because I'm not beholden to one or another. I'm going to make sure I put my clients with the best one for them. So with that being said, if I had to just point out one that I think probably is the best to just deal with in general, I'd say Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay.
United Healthcare, their individual health insurance product kind of comes and goes with how good it is, how bad it is. There's Aetna out there. There's a new plan in North Carolina called Better. They've shown themselves to be okay to deal with. But if I had to say what's I'm the most comfortable dealing with, and I feel like your listeners would be the most comfortable dealing with, would be Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Got it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what Chris and I have. We signed up for that one.
That's right. I did it for you.
You did. And I want to be transparent. We pay about $240 something a month for both of us to be insured. And I think, and I mentioned this too, I'm like, can't we just pay it all at once? Because, as somebody who we work with in seasonal jobs and we have big chunks of money at one time and have to plan throughout the year, it's so much easier to pay it out. But I heard that you have to do monthly payments. Is that correct?
Yep. And I'll explain why that is. When you're going through the marketplace and you're receiving subsidy, that subsidy is based off your income that you let me know to put on your application. Well, especially someone like a commercial fisherman where their income could go higher or lower throughout the year, depending on how the year's going and how the fishing's going and, regulations through the state, things like that. You wouldn't want to make a full-on year payment of the $240 times 12, because let's say you come to me in June, you say, hey, look, Andy, our boat's down. We haven't been able to fish for the last 3 or 4 months. Our income's going to be way different lower than what I told you to start with. Well, that means that I can adjust your income to make your health insurance premiums a lot lower. And so you wouldn't have wanted to prepay all that with the idea that could happen.
Okay, that's awesome to know. I did not know that. I'm making a note. So adjusting the income for your health insurance plan is possible.
Mm-hmm.
What if you want more coverage? Do you, is this, okay. First of all, can you explain to me what a subsidy is? I'm going straight up first grade. Let's bring it on. What is a subsidy?
Absolutely. So the way that I always kind of base it down is I say, the government is now involved in health insurance, right? Through the ACA law, the Affordable Care Act. What that means is that quite simply, they're saying, okay, well here, let's just take an example of a family of 4 and they're living off of $50,000 of income. Well, health insurance alone is very, very expensive, right? So the government's talking, they're saying, okay, well, we think that this family of 4 that's making $50,000 a year, we think they need help with health insurance. So they, through their calculations, we're going to give you X amount of money per month to go towards any health insurance plan you want to choose, right? So all that subsidy does is it reduces the cost of the premiums for health insurance. Now, some subsidies can be large enough depending on your income. If your income's low enough, you're getting enough subsidy where you have a lot of options through the health insurance marketplace that won't even cost anything. And why is that? Because the subsidy is large enough to cover the actual cost of the premium all the way, right? So that is what a subsidy is. It is merely just a money from the government to turn around and pay for health insurance plans and make them less expensive.
Got it. And when you say premium, you mean
the monthly cost of the insurance.
Thank you.
So let's say for a family of 4, the actual cost would have been $1,500, okay, without any kind of subsidy. But the government has considered, well, you guys are living off of $50,000 a year. We know you need some help with this, so we're going to give you $1,400 per month to go towards any plan you want to choose. Well, now you're able to choose a plan that's costs around $100. And I say that you have multiple plans to choose from, but let's just say a plan costs $1,500. They're giving you $1,400 of it. You're only paying $100 for that plan. So that is a subsidy in a nutshell.
Got it. And then how long is that process if you wanted to have a government subsidy? Like, how do you have to wait until the next cycle to even apply for that? Or is that something you can apply, like, let's say in June?
So that's going to be determined by whether you have a qualifying event or not. So if you do not do it, and I think you're going to ask me this question a little later in the podcast, but the open enrollment for health insurance is from November 1st and to December 15th for anyone getting a January 1st effective date. Okay. The actual open enrollment does go through till January 15th, though, for people wanting a February 1st effective date. So you really do have from November 1st to January 15th to really work on this. Now, let's say you didn't get your health insurance then. And let's say the reason you didn't get your health insurance through the marketplace is because you were working a job where you had employer benefits and you had health insurance through your job. But then all of a sudden in June, like you were mentioning, you lost your job, or that company decided to do away with their group health insurance plan. That creates what's called a special open enrollment period, an SEP. And so that allows you to go to the marketplace and apply for subsidy. Otherwise, just willy-nilly, you cannot just hop up and say in June, you know what, I think I need health insurance. I'm going to go get on a plan through the marketplace. You're really not supposed to do it that way. But there are quite a few things that do help you qualify for a special open enrollment period, like a death in the family, a birth in the family, a change in job status, things like that.
Got it. Okay. I'm also going to TMI because that's what I do. But Chris and I we didn't have health insurance, I think, for our entire relationship together. We've been together 8 years. I'm a military brat, so I had the best coverage ever up until I was, I think, like 21. So I'm like, everything's great, it's free. And then I'm like, oh no, it's not. It's effing expensive. And yeah. So I went on government assistance and got that. Is it Medicaid? Is that what the?
Yep.
Yeah. So I had Medicaid when I was in California. Had amazing coverage. It was great. Chris had health insurance, and then now I think he has I think he has some kind of health insurance or some kind of insurance coverage with the boat too. But now that we're with you, obviously there's more coverage there. I don't know the specifics of his,
sure.
But I don't even know where I was going with this as I'm like outing all my personal stuff. Well, I'll get back to it. I'll circle back. But I guess what I'm asking too is, well, I'm going to skip to this next question. What is coinsurance? Because I heard this come around and I'm like, what does that mean? Is that something that you get to get more specialized, to see more specialty doctors? Like, is it something you get to have maybe more advanced therapy, chiropractor, acupuncture? Is that a completely different situation?
No, I will gladly explain. Do you mind if I use your particular policy to explain?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I am pulling it up as we speak.
Awesome.
So with coinsurance, it is basically a convoluted way of the health insurance company getting you to have some skin in the game. And so what I mean by that is your particular health insurance plan has a $7,000 deductible on it, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people think that once they've hit 7,000, they're done. But that's not the case. So I'm going to lay out your plan real quick, and then I'm going to explain to your listeners how this goes. You've got a $7,000 deductible. You have a 50-50 coinsurance percentage. And then you have an out-of-pocket maximum limit of $9,450. Okay. So with those three things being said, let's say, God forbid, Megan, you ring up $1 million bill in the hospital. You're going to pay your $7,000. And then after that, Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to pay 50% of the bill, which is their coinsurance part, and you're going to pay 50%, which is your coinsurance. Now, 50% of $1 million is a lot of money for anyone. So what they do is they put a cap on that, which is the out-of-pocket limit, and yours in particular is $9,450. So I always try to teach people when they're looking at health insurance, forget about what the deductible is. I mean, you can look at it for a little bit of clarity, but really you want to go to the out-of-pocket limit to know exactly what your total liability is for a year. If I ring up $1 million bill, I know my liability is $9,450. Now, okay. And I'll give you an example on how I kind of consult with people on this. Let's say I showed you another plan when we were going over your plan options that has $1,000 deductible. That seems like it would be a whole lot better, right? But what if that plan still has a $9,450 max out of pocket? Well, that plan could easily be $300 or $400 more expensive per month because of that $1,000 deductible. But really, in the grand scheme of things, why would you pay that? Because if you rang up $1 million bill, your max out of pocket, your liability is still $9,450. So that's where I really get into the nuts and bolts with my clients of trying to show them, here's how these plans work, and here's how we do the math to make sure you got the right premium.
Got it.
You're not overdoing it. But that's how coinsurance works. It's giving you a percentage of payment along with the insurance carrier's percentage of payment, but your percentage caps out, and that's your max out of pocket limit.
Got it. So my max is less than 10 grand. It's not 9,450 plus $7,000, or is it?
That is correct.
Oh,
it is 9,400, and that's inclusive of the 7,000.
Got it. Okay.
So once you've hit $9,450, you are 100% covered the rest of the year. You don't pay for prescriptions. You don't pay co-pays for doctor visits. If you need to go get another surgery done or some other kind of procedure that they've been telling you for a while you need to do it then.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay. All right. I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Very good. I'm glad.
Now, okay. Is dental insurance an entirely separate person that I would talk to, or would I talk to you about if I wanted to have dental?
You can talk to me about it. However, so typically the dental insurance that I do, I'm usually doing it through corporations and companies as a group benefit. I will say, very plain and simple, individual dental insurance is definitely something different. It's separate from your medical plan, but it's something that is lacking in benefit. It's just not great.
Mm-hmm.
I can sell plans through Blue Cross Blue Shield, through United Healthcare. I just don't like them, and I would rather not sell them to my clients because I don't feel like they do what they're supposed to. So what I usually do is, one of the better ones I've found out there, and your listeners could jot this down, it's through Delta Dental, DELTA Dental. And I'm not appointed with them to sell them, but I know that they're a good plan. And so I usually send my clients that way.
Got it. Okay, cool. That's good to know. I actually have a teeth cleaning tomorrow, and I'm going, and they have their own plan, which,
Yep.
Okay. Do you recommend people signing up for the?
A lot of dentists are starting to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it really depends on what cost they put on that. What monthly costs are you paying? Because what you want to do is treat it just like you're doing with insurance. Add up the cost of your cleanings and how much you know about your mouth. Do you usually have a lot of cavities? Do you not? If you don't have a lot of cavities, you're just getting cleanings done every year, it might be best to just pay for the cleanings. Mm-hmm. But if you're the type of person that would really use that, like you've got crowns that need to be fixed, you have cavities that need to be filled, whatever they're charging monthly, just make sure it makes mathematical sense.
Got it.
Basically, it's on insurance plan.
Got it. I feel like I should out them too, because why we're just being honest too. So they said that their plan it was like $495 for a cleaning, x-rays, and then I don't know what the other thing was. There was one other thing that all those pieces together would have been over $500 if I paid out of pocket. That also includes it twice a year. So I can go in twice a year and it would cover the x-rays, the teeth, the cleaning, and whatever else I can't remember. So I'm like, well, I guess this is the better option because I'd be paying more out of pocket anyway if I was just going to go and get all those things done. So it was nice to know that it was a legit service that they offer. And if anybody's interested, you can ask your local dentist and see if they have any kind of plans out there, because they seem like they're very happy to help. So nice.
It's just a matter of doing the math whenever you get the price from them and figuring out how often you feel like you would be using it.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Is Medicare the same as standard health insurance?
No, it's not. So Medicare is for the 65 and older crowd, whereas standard health insurance is going to be for 65 and under.
So standard is Medicaid, is essentially Medicaid?
Oh, well, when you're saying standard health insurance, I'm thinking you're meaning like the plan that I've set you up with.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Medicaid is going to be for a low income person or family. Mm-hmm. And that is direct coverage from the government through their health insurance platform. And it is typically free. Yeah, actually, it's almost always free. Medicare is different. It is not for the low income person. It's for the elder person, 65. I don't know. I call it 65 and older, but it is for that crowd. And so it is a government assistance, but it's because of their age, they're able to tap into it, and they definitely should. Our agency, we have 2 girls in our office that specialize in Medicare. So, I'll give my info out at the end of this, but they're going to be the better ones to talk about that. But that's basically the long and short of it. It's over 65.
Got it. Okay. And to full circle my story about how we didn't have health insurance forever and how we were like kind of rolling the dice. The reason that we decided was, well, we felt that we're in our 40s now, so we feel like we need to maybe step up in that area. But also, Chris fishes out of California, and California charges a lot of money for you if you do not have health insurance. So we were basically paying the state of California maybe $100 less than we would pay if we got health insurance for both of us for 1 year. I'm like, Can we just stick it to the state of, I love California. Don't get me wrong, but there are certain things that really, really get under my skin and makes it really hard to live there if you're, of a certain lifestyle. But, I was looking at our taxes. I'm like, wait, how much do we pay just to the state? Cause we didn't have health insurance. And I feel like, well, I know, right? It was, I don't know how much it was like 1,200, maybe more, 16. I don't know. It was something insane. But I think the federal government did that at one point, right? And they quit doing that.
They did. That's been going for several years now, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got, California's still riding strong on that one. So anybody out there in California may want to check your tax bill, because health insurance may be you get more benefits, obviously, because you're not paying the man. So number 2. How does a company handle disputes over claims? Like, let's say I gotta contact you because, whatever happens. What is the first step, and how do I know that I'm going to get help, and how soon will that happen?
Well, let me start this answer by saying, for any of your listeners, it really does behoove you to have an agent helping you with your health insurance, because it costs for for example, Megan, it does not cost you a penny different to use me to have enrolled you, manage your coverage throughout the year, than rather if you had gone to healthcare.gov and done it yourself. Right. So it really does help to have someone to do it for you, because let's say you have an issue with claims. You're able to send it to me, gripe to me about it, tell me all about it. I'm going to take your info and I'm going to pass it along to some higher ups at Blue Cross Blue Shield that I know to go straight to. Now, does that make it an easy process? No, it doesn't, but it does get it into the right hands to get it moving. I will say health insurance companies really are slow with everything they do, but at least that is the right process to get things moving if you have an issue. Because if you call in to Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare just on the normal hotline on the back of your card, you are quite simply just a number. Right. Whereas we have somebody we can send it to and say, hey, look, we put a lot of business with you. Why don't you help us out with this claim and get it moved on? Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, it sounds like less of a headache. And honestly, when I went to health.gov and signed up years ago, I got so much spam for over a year of people just, calls, texts, emails. It was awful. It felt big brothery and weird, and I just couldn't deal with it. So I'm very happy to.
Well, can I use that as a little bit of a segue to something I definitely want to make sure your listeners know. Scamming and spammers have been horrible this year. So I would definitely say and I cannot remember how you were referred to me, Megan, but find somebody that you've been referred to, or someone you have some type of tie to, or someone that you know is a good person in your community to do your health insurance for you. And then once they're doing it, if you're getting calls from anyone other than their office asking you for update on your information, if they were calling from the marketplace, or we're making sure that you have the right health insurance, do not give them your information, because they can very quickly take your policy from me, the broker, put it into their own, so they're now getting paid for your policy, and they've put you with some other policy that you don't need, didn't want, probably doesn't work for your situation. It has gone rampant this year. So the biggest thing I can tell your listeners is you typically don't want to answer robocalls or like telemarketing calls and give them any information. They're not legit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary out there.
It's very bad.
Yeah.
And you're right. When you go to healthcare.gov, it is a shame, though, but they do beat you up with spamming and texts and emails. And That's why also, again, going through a broker, you just bypass every single bit of that.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about therapy? Because mental health is one of the biggest, not concerns, but very important for everybody on the planet, but also for partners of commercial fishermen. We're constantly worrying and thinking about our loves out there on the ocean. We're thinking about the price of seafood. I mean, yada, yada, yada. Mental health. Is therapy covered within certain plans, or is that something that you need to add on?
No, it's not an add-on. It's going to be based on the plan that you choose. And I will agree with you. Mental health and mental and therapy has become a huge thing over the last several years. It's what 80% of my clients ask about whenever they call to make sure that it's covered. It is covered. It really depends on a couple of different things. It depends on if the therapist office that you're going to, is it like a large conglomerate? If they are, they can sometimes be considered primary care. So it's going to fall under your primary care copay, or more than likely it's going to fall under a specialist. So it will fall under your specialist copay. Now, specialist copays are pretty high nowadays. They're anywhere from $80 to $100 to $150. So with that being said, a lot of times it does behoove you to say, hey, here's my copay for a specialist. It's $150. How much would you charge me, therapist, if I was to do this without insurance? What would it cost me to do self-pay? And a lot of times they'll give you a little bit better deal because they don't want to go through insurance, just like you might not want to as well. And so therapy is covered. It just might not be covered in an inexpensive way. It really just depends on and then that also, again, depends on the plan that you have. So I can get really into the nitty gritty on how subsidies work and give certain income levels really, really good plans, whereas people that make a little more money, they don't get access to as good of plans. That can be a conversation later in this podcast. But there are some silver plans that have very low copays for primary care and specialists. Like I've seen them as low as $10 for specialists. Well, those people have a really good go at therapy because they're paying $10 a pop. Whereas your plan in particular, Megan, has a $150 copay for specialists. So when you go, you're looking at either paying $150 or whatever their self-pay is.
Got it. Okay. And do I need to say, okay, so yeah, if I'm going through my insurance, I need to ask first, do you accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever I have?
Just about to say that, because so your Blue Cross Blue Shield plan is considered a Blue Value plan. Right. Whereas there's Blue Value, there's Blue Advantage, there's Blue Home. These are all networks. And then you want to make sure when you're calling to set up the appointments, hey, we just want to make sure you guys do accept this coverage, correct? Because you don't want to go and try to file later and find out they don't accept your network.
Okay. So I have a doctor's appointment next week. I need to call and say, do you accept Blue Cross Blue Shield and do you accept the Blue Value plan specifically?
Yes. Or outside of this podcast, you can tell me who you're going to and I can look them up for you. Again, okay. Another advantage to having a broker.
Okay. Awesome. That's great to know. Okay.
Yep.
And then what was the other, don't I have to say another word to make it covered under my plan? Don't I need to say, is this preventative? Like, is there a secret password or something?
Not for therapy, but hey, that tells me you were listening when I was talking. Yes. So I did tell you whenever we were first going over your health insurance, when you're going in for your annuals, your mammograms, your pap smears, for guys, PSA tests, for all people, colonoscopies, possibly anything that is considered a preventative measure, you want to make sure when you're setting that up, say, hey, I'm coming in for my preventative colonoscopy. That way they know to code it on your plan as preventative, because anything preventative is covered 100% on any plan. Any plan you choose, all preventative is covered 100%.
So I'm getting blood tests. So I can say, is this a preventative blood test? Is that what I said?
Yeah. Now you bring up, and you're doing a great job of the way that you're asking me these questions for your listeners, because you're uncovering things that a lot of people just don't know. So an unfortunate thing over the last couple of years is blood work is not always covered under the 100% preventative measure. Reason being is because they'll do the blood work in the office, but then they're going to send that blood work off to a laboratory where that laboratory is going to need some money as well. And so typically that cost gets taken to you and it goes towards your deductible.
Got it.
Now, if you go to a very large conglomerate doctor where they have lots of doctors, they have lots of technology in the office, and they can do both the blood work and the reading the blood work and analyzing it in-house. It will fall under the preventative and be covered 100%.
Okay. I will definitely check with you after this podcast to make
Yeah,
sure
let's talk.
Okay, sweet. All right. Let's see what, you know what I know about you because my friend was talking about getting blood work and she said, I saw the bill and how much it would have cost me if I didn't have insurance. And I thought, man, I'm so glad I'm covered. I'm like, wait, what? How much was it going to cost? Cause we were just going to pay it out of pocket. Like, I think it was like a 900 or $1,000 for simple blood work. And I'm like,
that's easy. Yes.
Yeah. So, then I'm thinking, okay, so that's like almost a whole year of insurance. Maybe we need to rethink this. So,
yeah.
Okay, great. And all right, I would love to know what kind of themes or what kind of topics are you seeing floating around out there within health insurance, maybe among your peers or with other clients that you've been working with? Is there something that you see as like kind of a common thread or something that maybe people should be more aware of?
Yeah, very much would be the prescription side of health insurance. So prescriptions have become a big deal as of the last few years for a couple of reasons. For one, the health insurance companies have decided that they want to change around their formulary list every year. So one drug that was on the generic category now might be on a tier 2 or a tier 3, which just quite simply to you means you're going to pay more for it. They keep switching that around. So I get so many calls from someone saying, hey, I was taking this blood pressure medicine last year, but now they're charging me, $30 every time I go pick it up. It was free. Well, what you need to do in that situation is you need to go back to your doctor and say, hey, they're charging me for this one. Is there another version of this drug that I can take that's going to fall under my generic category on my health insurance to where I can continue getting it for free? 9 times out of 10, the doctors are like, oh yeah, let's put you on this one. Sometimes the doctor's going to say, nope, we have tried other drugs. This is the one that you need. Well, what do you do in that situation? I'm going to tell all your listeners, if you take medication, sign up for the app GoodRx, because that app is going to dramatically reduce the cost of a drug that's going to end up costing you quite a bit of money, even with your health insurance.
I was going to ask you about that. GoodRx. And that's with non-generic drugs that can help with
It's with any drug.
Anything. Okay.
Yeah. But a lot of health plans nowadays do cover generic drugs 100%. You don't pay for it. So GoodRx obviously is not going to help in that situation. But if you do have a cost that you're going to be looking at paying when you go to the pharmacy, if you download GoodRx and just hand them your phone, they'll scan it. It'll drop the cost really quickly.
Wow. It's just like the commercial. You just show them the app.
It is. It's just like that. Now, there are drugs out there nowadays that has been kind of a hot topic. Adderall, Vyvanse. Those have become hard to get covered. They've become expensive. It is just what it is. It really stinks to say that, but that is just what it is. Those drugs that are out there like Ozempic and Wegovy for like weight loss and things like that. Really, a lot of the health insurance companies are not going to cover that, even though it seems logical for them to do that. They're not going to cover it unless really the idea for you getting is for you to drop your A1C, and your A1C being your diabetic, pre-diabetic levels. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people are trying to get those types of drugs because they want to better themselves. They want to lose weight. They want to find the health advantages from losing weight. But a lot of those drugs are not being covered. So there again, you really want to do the GoodRx. You want to contact the manufacturer of the drug and see if they have some kind of program that can make those drugs cheaper. Those are things I can go on and on and on about, but there are lots of ways for you to really kind of research and be a consumer about how you're purchasing your medication. And I encourage people to do that.
Got it. So for the Adderall, is it because it's in higher demand? Is this a whole economy, supply and demand thing that they're like, well, we're going to charge more because more people want it and it's a business and that's how it goes? You
said it exactly.
Okay. It's heartbreaking a little bit, but I can't even go down that road. I mean, that's another reason why I will. That's one of the reasons also we didn't want to get into health insurance because we felt like it's just this we didn't know if it would really be serving us or if we were feeding into the beast of, this.
You can be. Again, I go back to saying, being a broker, I can really hate insurance companies, and I do in a lot of different ways. I see it helpful in a lot of ways, but also I see people trying to get certain medications like this, and they make it very difficult for them to get it. A lot of ins and outs to try to get certain procedures and things like that. And yeah, insurance companies can be a necessary evil for sure.
Yeah. And on the note about prescriptions, I'm glad you brought this up. A few weeks ago, we had Denise Damewood. She's a public health nurse out of Alaska, and she started a program called Project Gabe, and it's an opioid overdose emergency kit that people can keep on board because opioids are everywhere.
Sure.
Within commercial fishing, people get hurt, they take pain medicine, and then that's the easy addiction, and it's an issue. What she was sharing with me was that people would go across the border to find prescriptions because they're cheaper down there. And Chris and I did this. We sailed on a sailboat from Washington State down to Baja, Mexico. And we were like, hell yeah, let's get up our, all the things that we need. We had, the antibiotics and all this stuff. Yeah. She's telling us now that it is not, advisable to do that because fentanyl is sneaking into these crazy over-the-counter drugs that you would think are totally normal. And then if you were going to do that you need to use fentanyl testing strips to make sure that you have proper medication. And I just want to reiterate that because it does seem like it could be so easy just to go across the border and get it, but that could be totally fatal at the same time. So drugs aren't what they used to be.
That's something that over the last couple of years, I would never dream of doing. Although prior to that, no, that would have been a good idea to do, but it's a scary world out there now.
It is. Okay. But that's why we have health insurance agents to help us, or good ones, at least, like Andy.
That's right.
Thanks for letting us pick your brain. Okay. So, I guess you might have already answered this, but what is a main challenge that you see within your industry and maybe in general with your clients?
I don't see, I feel like we've become a well-oiled machine as far as being able to talk to someone, hear their concerns, hear what they need to use health insurance for, help them get enrolled, and then they're moving on. The main problem that I'm seeing and the main, talk of the town is this whole scammer issue. So if you just be very mindful of not talking to people that have nothing to do with your health insurance. That's the main issue that I'm seeing.
How are you sure? How can you be sure the person's not a scammer? I guess is what I'm asking. Let's say, I signed up for this plan. I'm getting a call from, wherever, because they have your same, the numbers have your same area code on them a lot of the times.
Yeah. Like that. I would tell if you have used an agent to sign you up, I would just say, hey, I'm happy to talk to you, but let me hang up this phone first and call my agent and make sure that I'm talking to the right person. Mm-hmm. Do not give out your date of birth. I know that seems very innocuous, but it's not. Do not give out your date of birth, because if they have your name, date of birth, and the state that you live in, they can log on to a tool that us brokers use to enroll and snatch your plan from us. And in order to snatch your plan, they have to move you to a different plan. Right. So if I've got you with Blue Cross Blue Shield and somebody calls you and they're like, hey, I'm working with your broker on such and such, just need to verify your information. What they'll do is they'll take your information you just gave them, thinking that they're from my office, and they're going to put you with, say, United Healthcare instead of your Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. And that's only so they can start getting paid commission off of it. Well, that United Healthcare plan might not be the one for you. So to answer that question a little better is just say, hey, I've got an agent. I'd like to speak with them first, and then call your agent. Say, hey, did you have someone call me? No, that was a scammer. Great. Good.
Okay. That's great.
I forwarded it.
Yeah. Okay. That's intense. Okay. So what if someone wants to go see, and maybe this falls under the therapy category, mental health, but in the same process, but what if someone wants to go see a chiropractor or get acupuncture or have their baby at home? How do they?
Those are very good questions. The acupuncturist probably not going to fall under your health insurance. It's more of a homeopathic, method. Chiropractor likely going to fall under your specialist copay. So you're going to want to ask them if you can do self-pay, because a lot of times they will. And they also do things like dentists too, where, hey, if you come in all month, pay such and such amount per month, and you can come in this many times, As far as having a baby at home, there are benefits for that, but very limited. You really are taking on a lot of the costs, for I apologize, but remind me of who does the birth for you at
A
home.
midwife or a doula?
Yeah, the midwife. I mean, some midwives are licensed to where they can take insurance, and some of them even you can get from the hospital. But you got to make sure well ahead of time that they're taking your coverage and how it would fall under your particular plan.
Got it. Okay. I've heard stories also of women having babies in the hospital and everything. They've made sure that, the doctor that was going to deliver them was under their insurance plan, everything like that. They have the child and maybe the doctor couldn't be there for some reason. And another doctor stepped in and now they're paying way more out of pocket because, oh yeah, that doctor wasn't covered under your insurance plan, but they were the only one available. And so here's your bill and your new baby.
So that's when you're going to want to contact your agent and say, hey, this is the way this went down, and let us try to work it from our end, because that is very unfair for sure.
Okay. All right.
And I've seen that happen quite a bit too.
All right. Yeah. When I heard that, I'm like, yeah, that would be heartbreaking to hear that after you're just trying to do your best and
for sure
raise a child or have a baby and recover from that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, man, we've covered so many good things here. I don't even know what else to ask. Is there anything like, what do you hope people take away from our conversation?
I've probably touched on it quite a few times. And even if it's not me as their agent, find yourself an agent to do your health insurance for you. It's not going to cost you a penny more to have that person working on your insurance than it would if you did it on your own. That's going to be the overall arching thing, because I know that you have listeners in probably many states, and they need to find a local good agent that can help them, one they trust, one they know they can call and it's going to answer when they call or text or email. I really do think that's going to be your best route.
Got it. Okay. And if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, or Tennessee, you can call Andy for sure.
That's right.
Okay, here's a question. How long can children stay on their parents' health care plans?
So I find it to be kind of wild, but they can stay on there until 26.
Oh my goodness gracious. I wish that's how it was in the military. That's awesome. Not that I'm 26. 26.
Let me touch on something else real quick too. You asked about dental insurance earlier. If you have a family coverage, you have children on your plan, pediatric dental is automatically covered on all health insurance. And that does pay up to age 19.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now that's going to cover routine things like you're not going to get a root canal for your child on that, but you can get their cleanings done, their x-rays done, and simple extractions, things like that.
Okay. That's very helpful for sure. And okay. So let's see what else. Oh yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add? And I definitely want to know how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the only other thing I wanted to add was just, feel free to call me if you like what you've heard from this conversation. My contact info, my cell phone number is the best way to reach me, and that is 910-520-5845. My office number is 910-332-0404. And my email address is Andy, ANDY, at insurancesolutions.nc, like North Carolina.com.
Got it. Do you have a network of health insurance agents that you know of in other states? If people wanted to call you and say, hey, do you know anybody that you recommend in New York or?
I would say on the Eastern Seaboard, yes. Okay. Going to the Western side of the country, no.
Okay. Good to know. That's helpful for sure. Thank you, Andy, for your time. I want you to stay on so I can make sure that I'm getting covered next week for my blood test. So, all right. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you in a sec.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Your downloads, your reviews mean more than you know, because that's how we know that you are enjoying the podcast. And if you'd like to further support the community, you can tap the subscribe button, share with family and friends, post on socials, or write a review. But you know what? As long as you're getting value, that is all that matters. But if you go that extra step, we truly, truly appreciate it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're a partner of a commercial fisherman looking for more resources on how to navigate this unique lifestyle, from long distance dating to communication to finances to motherhood advice to mental health, safety,
You know, all the things. We're building more resources on succession planning and retirement. It's going to be amazing. There's even an option to join the private forum as well if you jump onto POCFpride.com to learn more. We are there for you. We got all of the community and all of the resources you need, and they are continuing to grow as we learn what you need the most. We can't wait to connect with you, and thank you so much again for being here.
Popping in to say that we have a new bonus in the private forum just for the members. We have a private group chat, and it's really fun, and it's super easy and accessible to send photos, to text one another whenever you feel the need. It's just another element that I wanted to add to make us feel more connected and to have that more intimate relationship that we can ask each other questions on the fly and know that someone will be there to support us emotionally through it, whether they've been through that or not, because the forum is a place for us to connect. It's a place for us to feel less alone, and it's a place to feel like it's a safety blanket that you can rely on at any time. What the forum is not, it's not a directory of every answer in the book that will solve your commercial fishing questions and issues, because that is impossible. There is no way for every fishery in every state. It is so freaking diverse. I think y'all even know this. It's really hard to keep up. I have had a hard time keeping up with the spiny lobster fishery that Chris is in California, let alone Bristol Bay in Alaska, let alone the salmon fisheries in California or crab, you name it. We all have different types of challenges from time to time, but at the same time, we know what it feels like to go through them, and we can be that support for you as you move through that journey and get you through the other side through our great advice that we've had, or what we would do. What would we do in your situation, or people that we would know that could help out? So that's what the forum is all about, and that's why I wanted to add this little group text chat to it too, because it's just a fun little element to add to another robust, amazing community that we already have. So if you are interested to join the forum, you can go to meganwaldrop.com/private-forum to learn more. And if you're a private forum member, you can email me directly, support@meganwaldrop.com. And me and my team will get that email and we can put you on that chat if you're not already in there. So I hope that is helpful, and I hope to see y'all in there.
Thanks for listening today. Being here means you're a part of the POCF family, and we wouldn't be a community without you. I'm Megan, and this is the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. As always, much love, POCF pride, and remember, you are not alone.